Good evening and thank you for joining us. The District Council election will be held tomorrow. Chief Executive John Lee once again called upon residents to cast their votes as he inspected polling stations across the city. Sources say the police will deploy over 10,000 officers to ensure the election proceeds smoothly. Timothy Lee has our top story.
Hong Kong will hold its first District Council election after the implementation of the revamped electoral system tomorrow. Earlier today, Chief Executive John Lee, along with Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Eric Tsang, and Electoral Affairs Commission Chairman David Locke, inspected the polling station in Heng Fa Chun. They were also briefed about the voting procedure and manpower arrangements. Lee thanked the polling station personnel and said he is hopeful tomorrow's event will run smoothly. Lee said he hopes the carnivals, concerts, and other activities organized to promote Election Day will increase the community's awareness of District Council elections. This as Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan inspected a mock polling exercise at the Queen's College polling station. He said all preparations have been made for any emergency situations tomorrow, with around 30,000 civil servants participating in the event. Meanwhile, the police said it will patrol crowded areas and around essential infrastructure tomorrow. Sources said the force will deploy more than 10,000 officers for the task, including those from the Counter-Terrorism Response Unit and Tactical Unit. Police Commissioner Raymond Siu earlier said at least 2 officers will be stationed at each polling station, adding plainclothes officers are tasked with looking out for suspicious individuals. Residents could vote at 44 District Council geographical constituencies in this election, which is employing a double-seat single-vote system. The more than 600 polling stations in the SAR will be open between 8:30 in the morning and 10:30 at night. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Under the government's newly proposed lease extension mechanism, consulates and international organizations are required to seek approval for lease renewal from the Office of the Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Hong Kong. The Development Bureau says that has been an established practice in the city. Secretary for Development Bernadette Lin denies the idea that the move means more interference from the Commissioner's office on the properties of overseas bodies. She reiterates the new proposal aims to help streamline the lease renewal process, which will in turn help improve business and social environments. Overseas, after more than 17,000 people have been killed in Gaza in a conflict between Israel and Hamas, a United Nations Security Council resolution that would have called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire was voted down. The United States vetoed the resolution put forward by the United Arab Emirates. So the resolution failed to be adopted, even though there were 13 votes in favor, with the U.S. voting against and the United Kingdom abstaining. Any of the 5 permanent members of the Council can veto a resolution, and the U.S. is one of the 5. Nasri Karim has more.
970, sírvanse levantar la mano.
13 hands went up in favor of the United Nations Security Council's latest resolution on the plight of Gaza and its people. The United Kingdom abstained, but the United States vetoed the resolution, which would have called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict. There was deep frustration by those who favored the resolution, including UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, China, Russia, and the Palestinian representative. Guterres said without a ceasefire, the risk exists of a total collapse of the humanitarian support system in Gaza, adding that the UN agency services in the Strip is at breaking point.
The conditions for the effective delivery of humanitarian aid no longer exist. Even if sufficient supplies were permitted into Gaza, intense bombardment and hostilities, Israeli restrictions on movement, fuel shortages, and interrupted communications make it impossible for UN agencies and their partners to reach most of the people in need.
The United States said it opposed the resolution because the wording failed to condemn Hamas for its October 7th attack on Israel that triggered the war.
As long as Hamas clings to its ideology of destruction, any ceasefire is at best temporary and is certainly not peace.
The resolution was supported by more than 90 other nations. China voted in favor of the resolution, with Permanent Representative Zhang Jun accusing the United States of double standards. Speaking to the U.S. representative, Zhang said Washington's veto shows it is extremely hypocritical as it keeps talking about the protection of women, children, and human rights. Zhang also called on Israel to stop punishing the people of Gaza. The Palestinian representative Riyad Mansour expressed his disappointment, telling the council that if you are against war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide, you must stand against this war.
This is a terrible day for the Security Council. Ceasefire. Ceasefire. Save lives. Every further day means lives lost. People killed at an unprecedented pace in modern history. Humanity must prevail. Now, for the sake of the Palestinian people in Gaza and for the sake of humanity.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Protesters in Spain and some Arab countries, including the occupied West Bank, called for an immediate ceasefire to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Hundreds of protesters in Spain's Basque Country on Friday formed a human mosaic representing the Palestinian flag. It was displayed alongside a reproduction on a giant banner of Pablo Picasso's iconic anti-war picture, Guernica, which symbolizes the horrors of war on civilian populations. And protesters gathered in downtown Ramallah in the occupied West Bank after Friday prayers, demonstrating against the war. Protesters marched holding Palestinian flags and banners calling for an end to the Israeli offensive in Gaza. Dozens of Lebanese mothers and other protesters gathered near the French embassy in Beirut, calling for a ceasefire. In Yemen's Houthi rebel-controlled capital of Sana'a, thousands of Yemenis turned up in a show of solidarity with the Palestinians. The national security advisors of the United States, South Korea, and Japan today called for a stronger international push to suppress North Korea's development of nuclear weapons. The meeting in Seoul comes as tensions on the Korean peninsula are at their highest in years, with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un earlier warning that he may authorize the preemptive use of nuclear weapons.
We've implemented our new commitment to consult with one another in response to regional threats, and we're increasing our trilateral defense cooperation, including sharing missile warning data in real time. We've also launched new trilateral initiatives to counter the threats posed by the DPRK, from its cybercrime and cryptocurrency money laundering to its reckless space and ballistic missile tests.
The United States and its Asian allies have responded to the North by increasing the visibility of their militaries with combined exercises, which Kim condemns as invasion rehearsals. Washington, Seoul, and Tokyo have also expressed concerns about a potential arms alignment between North Korea and Russia. They are worried Kim is providing munitions to help Russia wage war in Ukraine in exchange for Russian nuclear technology. Welcome back. Respiratory virus cases in the city are on the rise, coinciding with similar recent outbreaks in the mainland. But Secretary for Health Lo Chung-mau said no screening measures will be implemented at the border for now. Timothy Lee tells us more.
With the increasing trend of respiratory virus cases in the mainland, similar cases in the SAR have grown from around 50 in August to around 170 last month. As cross-border travel increases, University of Hong Kong health expert Yoon Kwok-yong earlier suggested conducting health screening tests for mainland tourists entering the city. But Secretary for Health Professor Lo Chung-mau said the government will not implement the measure for now, adding such action targeting mainland visitors will make the community pay a heavy price. The health secretary noted respiratory infections are common at varying degrees around the world, but stress-appropriate treatments are available. Lo also said fatality rates for infections are low, and that the government and the hospital authority are fully prepared for such cases. Meanwhile, Chinese University of Hong Kong professor of respiratory medicine David Hui predicted the growth of respiratory virus cases in the city will continue for some time. He stressed the strong protective measures residents have taken over the past 3 years have led to a weakened immunity. Hui reminded residents to wear masks and to wash their hands more thoroughly. He also predicted H3N2 as the main subtype of the winter flu season and urged residents to get the jab as soon as possible. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Today is Tai Chi for All Day today, as organized by the Tai Chi Academy International. In a bid to promote the Chinese tradition to more people in Hong Kong and beyond, over 1,000 participants from 130 secondary and primary schools gathered in Kowloon Park to practice Tai Chi. Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Algernon Yao and Secretary for Development Bernadette Lin attended the event. Also invited to perform was U.S. national Jake Lee Pinnick, a 16th generation disciple of the Zhang Sanfeng lineage of Wudang martial arts. The organizer hopes the event can help not just to promote the traditional Chinese sport, but also benefit people's immunity system and cardio health. Overseas, the Ukrainian parliament on Friday approved 3 bills necessary to start European Union accession talks. One of the bills is on national minorities' rights, a critical demand from Hungary, which opposes Ukraine's EU bid. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he signed all 3 bills into law and described them as a key step in Ukraine's application to join the 27-member EU. At an EU summit next week, members are likely to consider whether to start negotiations on membership with Ukraine as well as neighboring ex-Soviet state Moldova. EU leaders must unanimously approve nations to become new members. Azerbaijan says there is consensus that the country should host a COP29 UN climate summit next year.
I am delighted to announce that there is an overall consensus on the candidacy of Azerbaijan to host COP29.
Nations from the Eastern European region have been deadlocked over the host of the next global gathering to address climate change. French President Emmanuel Macron visited Notre Dame Cathedral on Friday, 1 year before its scheduled reopening in December 2024. After a blaze burned through the cathedral's roof and spire in April 2019, Macron's visits have become a tradition, with Friday marking his 6th to highlighting the rebuilding progress. Huge oak beams have been hoisted skyward so the cathedral can be re-roofed. The French leader went up the 96-meter-tall spire, reconstructed from its previous design by 19th-century French architect Eugène Viollet-le-Duc. Getting ready for the polls tomorrow, today is District Council Election Funday. Some residents said the promotional activities today will encourage people to vote on District Council Election Day. Mimosa Ngai reports.
Ahead of the district council elections on Sunday, some museums offered the public free admission, including the Space Museum in Tsim Sha Tsui. The purpose of the Fun Day is to boost election sentiment for voters, motivating them to cast a ballot on polling day. What do residents think of the idea? I think the measure is good. You get free museum day, this man said. However, he believed not all voters will cast their ballots tomorrow despite the government's effort to promote the event. This woman also liked the free activities offered by the authorities. I think the promotion helps to convince voters to stay in the city this weekend, she added.
3, 2, 1, go!
Meanwhile, this was the scene at Kwun Tong Promenade this morning. Youngsters were competing against each other in a rowing machine contest. The purpose of the event is also to raise awareness of Election Day. For most residents, however, the highlight of the Fun Day was probably the large-scale outdoor concert held at the West Kowloon Cultural District. The concert started at 7 p.m., but some ticket holders arrived at the venue almost 3 hours earlier. I came here early to get some food, the man said. He believed the concert may not generate a higher voter turnout rate for Sunday. Concert and election are 2 separate things, he explained. By 7 p.m., the venue was packed with people. Some government officials were also present, including Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chen and Financial Secretary Paul Chen. The concert included well-known Cantonese songs such as Below the Lion Rock performed by singers and celebrities. Minus 9, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.